Hello there guys, Raj here. I hope all of you are doing well. So in today's video I wanted to share with you a bunch of samples, niche fragrance samples that I have that were actually sent to me by a company based out of France called Sommelier du Parfum. I've mentioned them on the channel before, but I wanted to do like just one video dedicated to them because I really like what they do. I was happy to talk about them and accept their samples because I'm not promoting one specific fragrance house. I got to choose which fragrances I wanted to try, and they had a good selection of fragrances. And I also have a rebate code that if you guys want to use, that you can benefit from as well. So I'll leave a link down to their website. It is an affiliate link, just for full disclosure, and I will talk about the rebate code. But this is the sample pack, a nice little pack. I like what they've got here, and you get 5 samples inside. You actually get one more. That it turns out you get one extra for free, I guess, as well. So this is a nice little thing, and they have a good selection of fragrances or houses. So they've got on their website like BDK, they've got Parfum d'Empire, Etat Libre d'Orange, they have Galion, they have, what else they have? Parfum de Cita, L'Orchestre Parfum, and some really kind of like good, like sort of some of them slightly under the radar niche houses, so well worth checking out. So how all of this works is that what you can do is you can select, if they have stock obviously, select 5 samples. This will cost you £20, €20 or $25 US. And then if you enter the code RAJ5, then what you get back is essentially your money back plus an additional £5, euros or US. And then you can use that to sort of like claim it back against any future full bottle purchase. Or if you don't want to end up buying a full bottle, at least you get to sample some good fragrances anyway. So hopefully you see that as like a win-win all around. So the fragrances that I picked up in this sample pack, one from a couple from the house of Parfum d'Empire, Azemour Les Orangers, which I have mentioned in one of my most recent videos. Tabac Tabou is another one that I got. A couple from Etat Libre d'Orange, Divin and Enfant, I think that's how you say it. And also Spice Must Flow. One fragrance from the house of Olfactive Studio, Still Life in Rio, and the free sample they gave me from Essential Parfum or Essentiel Parfum, Bois Imperial, which I actually already have a sample of, so now I've got a couple. So let's get into the first one, and I've spoken about it already, Azemour Les Orangers. And the note breakdown for this one is quite a bit. There's orange, clementine, lemon, tangerine, grapefruit, galbanum, neroli, coriander, currant leaf, is that black currant leaf, and bud, pepper, pink pepper. I mean, there are a lot of notes in it. Cypress, orange blossom, geranium, caraway, rose, oak moss, hay, and suede. So this for me was a really, really beautiful fragrance. I was quite taken by this one actually, because I thought it was going to be basically an orange fragrance, and it is, but it is at its core, but there are a lot of other things going on, as you would have heard from the note breakdown, that actually add a lot more depth into this fragrance, which I appreciated, and it develops really nicely on the skin. You get a feel of there's a freshness coming from the orange, but there's a spiciness in there as well. You really do get a kind of feel that you might be in an orange sort of field, you know, there's orange trees all around you. There are also very much a feeling of the entire tree has been used. So the leaves, the twigs giving you petitgrain, also a little bit of orange blossom, so all coming from the orange flower, depending on how you extract the oils. Different methods will give you neroli and orange blossom. So there is that kind of sweetness there, floral sweetness, but a kind of watery citrus feel. Going into, as the development continues with this fragrance, you get a little bit of spice, just coming through, maybe a touch of sort of cumin that I kind of felt like it could have been a bit of cumin in there. in a similar style to Eau d'Hermès. I thought there were some similarities here. It gets a little bit woody, but it still retains a lot of the sort of citrus elements to this fragrance that you get in the beginning of the fragrance, I mean. And then in the dry down, it turns into a kind of slightly woody, white musky base that just actually kept me interested from start to finish. For me, definitely out of this entire pack, I would say this one is probably full bottle worthy for me. I can see this performing really, really well in spring and summer, and that's when I've actually been wearing it. And yeah, really, really excellent. The name is a kind of, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail on like the background of the companies and the houses and the names and all that, but I thought I'll mention this one because it's kind of like a combination between, I think it's pronounced Azemour or as something along those lines, which is a place in Morocco, and the word amour, so love. So it's kind of inspired by that. And you can read a lot more on the Sommelier du Parfum website. They give a good note breakdown and description and everything of the fragrance. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Alright, so continuing with Parfum d'Empire, which means fragrances of the empire, and this one is Tabac Tabou. Now I have actually sprayed this on a little tester strip. This is how the sample looks. It looks like I haven't worn much, but you don't really need to spray much. And I found this one actually on the challenging side. So it's described as an amber fougère. I'm not sure about that actually. Top notes of grass, middle notes of narcissus and immortelle, base notes of tobacco, honey, musk and leather. So definitely a potent fragrance, one that lasted a long time on my skin, and I didn't really feel comfortable wearing it in this region. So I typically did in the inside of the arms, on the wrists as well, and I felt like that made it sort of more tolerable. And what I mean by that, not in a way of it's like I don't like the scent, but it is a very potent scent, and that opening has something to do with the synthetics. I think it has this way of just pushing out non-stop this one accord, which I would describe as, it's a little bit tricky to describe actually, but I would describe it as a resinous, dry, woody, papery tobacco. On the drier side, I don't think it's like a wet feel. It did in some ways remind me of some of the pipe mixtures that my dad smokes. He smokes pipes and cigars, and so there is that dry feeling, like that dry cedar feel that you might find with cigar boxes, but then also that pipe mixture where it's kind of aromatic and spicy, but very woody at the same time. It's a little bit tricky to describe, a little bit sawdusty. It's very base note heavy, I found. Like there is no freshness or liveliness to this fragrance. It's not an airy fragrance, it's quite dense. And I did get the feeling of like bordering on incense, but more of a, could be like a myrrh, a little bit smokier actually than a myrrh. Not quite myrrh or frankincense, but some form of resin, like, hard to say, like a smoky benzoin, a Popanax kind of thing. That's the feeling I got with this fragrance. I'm not saying that that's the note breakdown. And a bit of sweet leather in there as well. I would add that on as you get towards the base. And actually I quite enjoyed it in the base, but I found the opening few hours just a little bit too much for my personal taste, but well worth checking out. If that description sounds like something you'd like, check it out. Right, so time to move on to the house of Etat Libre d'Orange. A brand that I've never owned any fragrances from them. I've always been intrigued, just never quite, like found anything that I wanted to pull the trigger on and buy. Although there are some pretty good ones in there actually. I would like to explore this house a little bit more. So I added to this pack Divin, Enfant, and are there top notes in here? It doesn't look like it. I don't know. It just starts with middle notes. Orange blossom, coffee and rose. In the base notes there's marshmallow, tobacco, leather, musk, tonka bean and amber. Reading the description about this fragrance I found quite interesting. I won't go into huge amounts of detail, but it's kind of inspired by like the sweetness and innocence of children, but also how they can be devilish and keep you up at night, and you're kind of running on adrenaline and cigarettes and coffee to keep your parenting going. I wouldn't know, I'm not a father, but yeah, I thought this was an interesting fragrance. I think that's the best word I can use for this house from what I've detected. This is very niche. It's very niche. This is not a sort of mass marketed, sort of mass appealing kind of style. And Divin Enfant, actually, I quite enjoyed it at times. In the opening, I got like sort of a fizzy lemon sherbet, violet sweets, those heart, love me not heart sweets. Very kind of aldehydic, actually. I found it like baby powder kind of vibes. I got a body lotion, like a sweet orange blossom body lotion feel with this. And not something I'll typically go for, but it's always good to explore new types of scents. And actually in the dry down, I really enjoyed the dry down. It did smell like a faint, like a woody kind of tobacco, dry aromatic feel on the skin, and actually quite like that actually. As it didn't really get any coffee. It says coffee in here. It didn't get any coffee, didn't get any rose. Yeah, maybe that sort of musk. There's musk and amber, giving a feeling of like warm skin. And I quite liked it. A little bit spicy, a touch of spice in there somewhere. Not sure where that's coming from, to be honest. Looking at the note breakdown, I can't quite figure it out. But yeah, it says marshmallow. It's not quite as saccharine as you know, not overly sweet. It's not. I don't see this as a gourmand, but it does border on that. It does kind of test it does kind of like play with those boundaries between being a full-on gourmand and something else. There's certainly a sweetness. There's a kind of violety sweetness in there, powderiness that kind of dominates actually, and does go into the base. Again, not a fragrance I would typically go for, but good to try new things, that's for sure. Next up is Spice Must Flow, which I believe is a quote from a movie I read a few days ago. I just completely forgot to look it up again, but I think it might be a quote from a film. If you guys know, let me know. Described as an amber spicy, top notes of cardamom and ginger, middle notes of rose, base notes of incense. So a fairly simple note breakdown. I'm not seeing saffron in this note breakdown. I'm sure there's saffron. I feel like there's saffron in this, but I don't know. I'm going off the sommelier website. Maybe it mentions it in the description. I'm not sure. This one is a really interesting one for me, actually. It is certainly in that sort of Arabian spicy oud rose saffron combination, but there's no oud here. But at first, I kind of felt like maybe there is. It kind of gave me that impression. If there isn't saffron, I'll be amazed, because it does give me that. Saffron is a very difficult one to describe in words. You really have to know it if you smell the real raw ingredient. It's very, very floral. It's spicy, it's rosy at the same time. I find it difficult to describe what saffron is, but I did get a feeling of like a spice cupboard feel with this one. Very kind of what I would describe as spicy, sweaty woods, which might not be as appealing to some people, but there is something kind of alluring in that way. It might sound a bit odd to some people, but I actually quite like that. I think if you're a fan of the Guerlain style of oud roses and woods in the Les Absolus d'Orient collection, I'm thinking something like Santal Royal. I'm thinking of Oud Essential as well, or Essentiel. Those fragrances are coming to mind. I'm thinking of Penhaligon's and their Trade Routes collection in that kind of dry, kind of faux oud accord, which I detect in here. I quite like it. It had a really luxurious feel. It gave me a feeling of, actually sometimes of like, not pastry, but like a sweet, maybe a Turkish delight or something along those lines, but more spicy, like a spicy Turkish delight. Slightly strange description maybe, but I found this actually had very much like a luxurious feel to it. I quite liked it. Yeah, definitely a standout bunch in all of these samples. Wouldn't mind getting another sample actually, just to test out, because I went through this one all the way to the end and I thought, wouldn't mind getting another couple of ml just to get a bit more experience with it. Well worth checking out. Let me know if you have tried it, and let's move on to the next one. Next up is Still Life in Rio, and let's just get the note breakdown. Top notes of yuzu and lemon and rum actually as well. I could do with the drink, to be fair, it's Sunday. Ginger, mint, mandarin orange and pepper, and base notes, straight into the base notes. Coconut, copaiba balm, not sure what that is. I probably should have looked that up before the video. And leather actually as well. So, Still Life in Rio. I haven't read too much. I didn't really want to go into huge amounts of detail with this fragrance. Olfactive Studio is the brand. But I imagine it's trying to recreate a beach feel, a tropical feel, a very kind of lying on the beach with a drink kind of feel. I think that's pretty much what they're going for, and that's the impression that I get. I just finished off the sample just now by spraying it on these tester strips. Kindly donated to me by Boots, actually. So thank you to Boots. And when I say donated, I mean I just grabbed a handful and walked out the store. So, Still Life in Rio. I quite like this one actually. Yeah, it does give me a feeling of suntan lotion on skin, of drinking a Malibu and Coke. You know, that kind of coconutty, fatty feel. It's sweet, but not going too far. It's not literal sun cream, but it gives me a hint of that, mixed in with a touch of booziness. There is a freshness in there. I get a kind of limey, minty accord, bordering, not quite bordering on mojito, but more grounded in a kind of rum-based cocktail. It's nice. I don't go for these types of fragrances. I find them a little bit too, sometimes a little bit too literal. It's a really nice expression of a fresh scent, a fresh tropical feel. I get a fruitiness in here as well, a kind of boozy fruitiness, which I really like. Obviously there's coconut in this, which, depending on how it's done, I mean, coconut can smell very different in different ways. I think this is more of a overly sweetened Malibu drink. You know, that's kind of the feel I get with this one. It's a very playful feel. It's very, is there a touch of melon? Is melon in here? It says mandarin orange, but I get a kind of fruitiness, like a fruity cocktail feel. It's quite a fun fragrance. Not one I would typically go for, you know, if I'm honest with you. But again, that's one of the things that I enjoy about niche fragrances, is that there's always something new to discover, always something interesting. And this is interesting, I like it. So I think a quite a good bunch of samples I've got here, guys. As I said, you know, there's a rebate code, RAJ5 is the code. You get an additional £5 or euros or dollars on top of your sample purchase, which you get back and you can reclaim against any future full bottle orders. Yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. What do you think about these fragrances? I'd love to hear from you if you have tried them, or if you're intrigued. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.